Hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is, as I call, a quicker version of finding the inverse function. In other words, I am strictly going to tell you exactly what to do. So look at problem 14 here. So first thing we're going to do is, knowing that f of x is y, we're going to make it x, and the x now becomes a y. So in other words, to find the inverse, step one, you just switch the x and the y. Solving for y, first thing I'm going to do is minus 2 both sides. So now I have x minus 2 equal to the cube root of y minus 1. So all I did, in other words, was get rid of that plus 2 to start with. Now I still have y here, but there's a cube root on it, right? That cube root right there is on it. So how do we get rid of a cube root? Is we are going to do a cube or 3 power on it. Okay? A 2 power gets rid of a square root. A 3 power gets rid of a cube root. A 4th power would get rid of a 4th root. Okay, so what happens now? Well, we get x minus 2 now cubed equal to y minus 1, because the 3 and the cube root cancel each other out. So all we're left with is what's in the radical. And then to finish it up, all I'm going to do is add 1 to both sides. And my final answer will be x minus 2 cubed plus 1, I know, equals y. And of course y is the, in this case, f inverse of x. So pause the video and make sure that makes sense to you. Next problem. This was problem 18 on the worksheet. Again, notice step 1. What am I going to do? F of x is now x. The x is now a y. Okay, now I'm solving for this y right here. So I'm going to go ahead and add 2 to both sides first, because that's going to get rid of that negative 2 right there. So now notice I have x plus 2 equal to negative 2y to the 5. Now I need to get rid of this negative 2 right there. So I'm going to divide by negative 2. And now what do I have? I have x plus 2 divided by negative 2 equal to y to the 5. How do I get rid of this 5 power? Well, I'm going to do a 5th root, because a 5th root cancels out the 5 power. And you can see all I'm left with is that y right there equal to, now let's remember we got to do the 5th root on this side as well. And so when I do the 5th root on that side, of course, I get the 5th root of x plus 2 over negative 2. And I could modify my answer there a little bit, but again, we'll talk about that later in class, but that basically is my f inverse of x. So pause the video and see if that makes sense. Okay, last problem. Again, what was step 1 again? We took the y, we made it an x. We took the x right here, and we made it a y. We switched the x and y's around so that when we solve for y, we have an equation that goes in the opposite or inverse direction. Hence the name inverse function. So what I'm going to do first, add 3 to both sides. And now I have x plus 3 equal to 2 over y plus 1. Oh, wow. I'm solving for y and it's in the denominator. What am I going to do? Well, how about if we put a 1 underneath there? And let's do a little cross multiplying. We're going to do a little cross multiplying here. And so what do we end up with? X plus 3 is timesing now y plus 1, and that equals 2. Again, if you look down the bottom left of the screen, 2 times 1, I hope you agree, is 2. And x plus 3 is going to times y plus 1. Now, we could, again, multiply all of that stuff together, but we're going to get a big, ugly mess. Okay, so what are we going to do instead is, how about if we now divide by x plus 3, divide by x plus 3. Why? Because x plus 3 divided by x plus 3 is 1. So now we're left with y plus 1 equal to 2 over x plus 3. And again, all I need to do now is minus 1 both sides. And this is my inverse function. So f inverse of x is 2 divided by x plus 3 minus 1. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you find inverse functions. So pause the video right now and make sure you understand number 12.